folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the Biz World, the NBC Network, everywhere. We're going to be talking some powerful stuff today with my guest. And we're going to talk about personal development. We're the coach that takes people into that journey to improve themselves. And it is an important, piece of the discussion. It is an important topic. I think we all need some guidance at a point of our lives, some mentorship, some coaching. And this is something we need to always have more and more, of. And so with me, our guest, Jerry Scarlato, is going to take us into that journey. And he has been doing the work, and he has been doing a lot of good stuff. Jerry, welcome to the show, man.
Hurricane, I appreciate you so much. I love the emphasis of coaches and mentors and things like that. The more we were talking a little bit beforehand, I have my own podcast called The Good Wolf Project. And the more that I talk to people, everyone who's reached a level of success has a mentor or coach story. Usually both, but all of them have a mentor or coach story at different levels. You have a mentor at this level, and then a mentor at that level, and then a coach at this level, and then a coach at that level. And it's just so underrated, and I think so underappreciated, especially at a young age, because I just don't think it's talked about enough. But at any rate, I think that's great that you emphasize that, because it's just something that we need to embrace more.
Well, Jerry, thank you. We'll go to your story, and how you got into all this and what got you into it. But really, if you look at Jim Rohn and some of the top guys, out there that coached and trained, generations in business, right? One thing that they all have stated is that in order for us to be better, we do need to improve ourselves. And that improves, skills, physical, mental, and intellectual. And so the idea of really getting better is a mandatory stage. I mean, something that we all have to do in order for us to see some level of transformation, evolution in our stages, right? We all start at the same point pretty much. You learn stuff, basic stuff, but how do you kind of highlight yourself over the rest, right? How you become, as you said, a successful story. Now, success can be defined many ways, and it can be in personal life, it can be in family, with kids, with this, with work, with this, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're talking about just in general improvement to get better. And we all have some, I guess, deficiencies in our own way, right? We're not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but you enhance that through the stages of learning more and becoming better. But as you said, without sometimes guidance and help, we only know what we know. We can use other people that can help us more and guide us more. Because listen, you've been doing podcasts, I've been doing this, for a few years, and listen, I've had my journey of success as I define it personally, but it's never ending. You're always going to continue doing things. So now let's go back to your story. Like, how did you get into this world? It's been a while that you've been doing this, but what got you into it in the first place?
That's a great question. I want to hit on something real quick because I think it's super important. And then I'll come back to the question. Definition of success, because if you listen to just personal development in any way, shape, or form, if you listen to podcasts, business podcasts, things like that in any way, shape, or form, which probably anybody listening to this does, then you think of success. When you hear just the word success, it automatically is attached to finances. It's automatically attached to wealth in your mind. No one has made that attachment for you except you. And a lot of that, of course, is the talk that you hear. But it's ironic you bring that up and say that, because literally I just did a solo episode, which I released today, on your definition of success, like you defining what success means to you. But success can mean so many different things. Literally, there's an infinite number of definitions to success, and it's up to you to define that. And the second that you start to take on other people's definitions of success, it actually becomes much more challenging to be successful, and more importantly, I would say, be fulfilled, because those are two very different things, success and fulfillment. You can have success without fulfillment. There are plenty of rich people that are super unhappy, not fulfilled in the least. And then there's plenty of fulfilled people who aren't rich and aren't wealthy, but they have this wholeness of their life that they just feel like everything is full, and they feel like they have what they need and what they're capable of. And that's everywhere in between is totally fine. So I think that that idea is super important, which I guess can lead into where I am today because I started to shift my definition of success recently. Not shift it. Uh, I'll say reevaluate and readjust it. So I'll go back 10 years, almost 11 or 12 years, I guess, at this point. I started a fitness studio in 2013 and ran that until last year, closed that last year. Also got married in 2013 and then also got divorced last year. So married for 10 years, divorced after 10 years, opened a business, closed a business, all within 10 years, all the same year, beginning and end for both of them. At the beginning of that 10 years, I had an idea in my mind of what success looked like. And I believe that it was built off of what I wanted. And over the course of that 10 years, I pursued it and went after it. And my wife at the time had a different image of success than I did. We had talked about it, and we got married because we knew that we were going in a direction, and we knew that we kind of agreed with what each one wanted. But we had these underlying values that we didn't pay enough attention to in the beginning, and we had this different definition of what success looked like in the future that we didn't pay attention to enough in the beginning. So over time, that became more and more apparent. And so my definition of success, I started to skew it. And when I say that, I don't blame that on her. That was my choice to start to skew my path and skew what that looked like. But it became very apparent over the last 3 to 5 years that I was not bought in as much. I did not put in as much effort. I was not as happy with what I was doing. I loved the gym, loved the studio, always enjoyed it, but it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like I was pursuing the thing that I believed I was meant to do. So last year, after plenty of reflection and thought and thinking and honestly years of how to potentially improve this, decided to just it wasn't an automatic sequence of events. I planned on keeping the business because the separation started first, but through another sequence of events, went ahead and closed the business and like, okay, well, I'm going to start from the beginning and then go after this thing that I know what I believe success looks like. So that's what leads me to now. Everything's online. I'm doing more personal development than just strictly health and fitness. So I can help a broader band of people, although most everybody needs health and fitness as well. But I believe that it takes more. What health and fitness misses is the mind and the mental development. And so that's why I believe that it takes a broader view than just that narrow view of exercising and nutrition. That's why most people fail, is because they don't focus on the other part of it, the becoming better, the improving, the becoming a different person.
Well, but before even you started the gym, there's something that got you into it. I mean, you always loved working out. I think you and I, we talked about it since you were a child, literally, you were into it. And that's actually a good start point. I mean, because, you already had that in you. I mean, it was something that drove you, in terms of, and I'm sure throughout your youth and, I guess going through school, all that age group, or levels, you've gone through to the development of your own body and self and fitness and get into it and get deeper into it. And then ultimately you loved it enough that you started your own business with it. But I do, and by the way, you did, respond to the question, it's all good. But my thing is, I love when you put the correlation between success and fulfillment, and that's why I said, like, I had my own share of my success, but that's just based on what my definition is. Someone could say, well, you're not, no, nothing. And, maybe I'm not to someone else, right? Because as you said, everybody is judging success based, as you said, financial. You have millions and billions, that's success. Again, I love what you said. You can have all the money in the world and not be fulfilled by that money, because it's nothing. I mean, money is a means to an end. I mean, it's great to have, but it's not going to guarantee you happiness. And that's a big one. And success can be a small things. I mean, believe it or not, for someone who may be frail and unhealthy, walking can be a success. Just standing up, going to the bathroom, God forbid, right? Can be a success. Someone who is just, making, the daily living and waking up in the morning and going to work and stuff can be a successful thing. One step at a time. Most people, we judge people by like these grandiose levels of success, right? Like, oh, this guy is massive. It's good. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a level of success. But again, it's what I love what you said. It's what you define, and yes, someone can see it differently, but if you're fulfilled, you're happy. That's all that matters. And those little things are big differences in terms of how people live. And again, that only can happen when your mind is actually evolved enough to see that because we are influenced. That's the problem. We are bombarded daily, through everything we know. I mean, since we're kids, right? The rich and the famous, right? The stars and this and that, the influencers now, right? We live in that world, followers, this, millions. And we get excited about that stuff because it's been pushed onto us, right? And by the way, there's a reality to that. There's nothing wrong with that. Good. Anyone out there, whatever your aspirations are, go for it. I mean, that's the thing, and that's a great message that I love is that doesn't matter what, you dream big, go for it, make it happen. And don't worry about what people think because there will always be people that will support it. There will always be people that are not against it. They see that you're nothing, Now, that's the thing. Who cares what people think? It's, you have to be, convinced of your own successes and your own endeavors and your own results. And that's all that matters. In a gym, you mentioned fitness, what your fitness and my fitness goals can be totally different, right? At the end of the day, we want to look good, we want to feel good and so on and so forth. But you go to the gym, I go to a gym, now I don't go to a formal gym, but I have my own. But literally, when I used to go to a regular gym, right? There are people that are so buffed up and they're huge. I mean, they're massive, right? But that's to them, that's what they want, and that's great. They push in, hundreds of of pounds, and curling, I don't know, 100 pounds on one arm. I'm doing like 10 pounds, 20 pounders, right? But so for me, that's not what I want. I don't want to be bulky. I want to be firm, and that's it. I do martial arts. I don't need to be that big. I want to be flexible. I want to be more relaxed and quick, right? So everybody's got, and that's the thing. People don't know that. They don't know why you're there and what you do. And that's the thing in life. And I love what you said. We get caught in that part of the life, the fitness and the body and maybe the health, physical aspect of it. But the mental, the mindset is completely sometimes off, and that's a huge area of development that we all can use. And by the way, this doesn't mean intellectually school, for example. You can have a master's degree, you can have a PhD, and that doesn't mean you cannot improve. You're good at what you do, but there's a lot of areas of life that we're not all good. You take the biggest in one area, they might not be the biggest at all areas in life, right? And that's the thing. So thank you for actually, seeing that and sharing that value of success and fulfillment. And by the way, I've given this example a couple of times. You probably used this, at a point or another, or you heard it. Steve Jobs, one of the biggest influences in the last few decades, right, and changed the world in a way, right? When he got sick at the end, I mean, his message was clear that the money in the world could not, meant anything to him other than his health, right? His health, he would have given all that money or to translate, that into his health and stuff. And that's what it is. It all depends where you stand at a certain point. It's that kind of like, cup half full or half empty. It's your way of looking at things. Everybody's looking at this world through their own lenses. So thank you for really making that adjustment between the success concept and the fulfillment. Because I think what we're looking for is fulfillment more than success. I think that's really the thing. But we're not getting to the level of like, hey, it's really what I want. And you just highlighted that. So that's a big, takeaway for folks, and thank you, Jerry, for really highlighting that. Because I don't think I've had that before where someone really correlated those two. Maybe I have, but it's not resonating right now. But it doesn't matter. We have you. And, and even if we did, I think it's always good to reemphasize a message. So thank you. So you discussed how you got into the business, got into marriage, things didn't work out. And you evaluated the stuff or reevaluated the stuff. And that's the thing in life. Life is going to throw in a lot of spins on us, right? And we get a left, we get a right, and it's just the ability and the agility and the adaptability of all of us that makes a difference. You didn't get beat up by the transformation. You changed, you adapted, and you changed it to something different where you took what you knew and applied it now into a different concept. And that's something else. So let's talk about the Jared, like the adaptability, the transformation from all the learning stuff that we have in life into something new that you can still make good of. Let's talk about that.
So I think it's first worth. By the way, all of that was pure wisdom in there. That was all a ton of good quality gold and information. I would recommend anybody kind of go back and listen to that section right there because there's so much good stuff in there that I'll save for later. But the transition by no means was easy. Where I am today is definitely through a bunch of work, no doubt, through a bunch of work. So there was I'll say a 6 month period of time when I was closing down the business, going through the divorce, going through all that process, where in the beginning of it, I thought for sure that I was going to be able to get through it without a whole bunch of angst, anxiety, stress. Where I knew that it was going to be stressful, a stressful event. Whenever you kind of pile those two things on top of each other, those are two life-changing events. If you go through just one of them, it's going to be stressful. So I didn't assume that it wasn't going to be stressful. I just assumed that I was going to be more prepared for it. But there's a saying that you don't rise to your level of expectation, you fall to the level of your training. So I had gone through plenty of personal development up to that point, working on my mindset, working on mental toughness, plenty of physical development, of course, up until that point as well, both of which, mental and physical development, build your mental development. Physical development, I believe, is the best way to build just your overall purpose if you're doing it correctly, your overall body, both mental and physical resilience. But I'd done a bunch of work and I thought for sure that I was prepared to work through this process, to go through this process, to, shut the business down and not let it be too overwhelming, to be able to get through the divorce and not let it take me over. But I wasn't. I wasn't prepared. Had plenty of episodes of up and down. And there were times where I was like, okay, yep, I got this under control. And then there were times I was like, whoa, I don't feel like I have control over anything. I feel like everything's running in 1,000 different directions and I can't do anything. And my mind's just like spinning in circles. So there was everywhere in between. So throughout all of it, I made sure to focus, number one, on the things that I can control. And then I would actually build in more controllables. So for instance, for me, since physical activity is kind of the foundation of myself, and I believe should be the foundation of most people's journey, I would build in more physical activity, but at a lower level, because what you don't want during those circumstances is really high level, a bunch of really high level, high intensity exercise, because you're just compounding stress on top of stress. But mid to low level exercise is actually relieving of stress. So I would go for more walks. I would go for more hikes. I went for 2 or 3 walks or hikes a day. And that was on top of, 3 or 4 days of weight training throughout the week. And I did that on purpose. Number one, I could control it. I knew that that was something that I was going to be able to do and control. And then during that time, I would process things. I would think through things. I would think about how the business is, what I needed to do for the next step of closing the business, or what I needed to do for the next step of getting through the divorce. If I had any worries or concerns, I would go through those. Questioning. There's constant questioning whenever you're going through changes and transitions like that in life. So I would go through the questioning. Is this the right step? Is this the thing I need to do? And I would process them. And I would do that during those walks, during those times that I knew I could control that time. And that was something I was choosing to do, because everything else, a lot of things were out of my control. And it gave me the opportunity to process through that. Now, through 4 to 6 months of work, I am where I am today, which I'm not saying that I'm like, I still have periodic moments where like I'll sit and I'll think and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad the business is gone. And oh, it's tough, no matter how much you agree or disagree with your spouse, if you ever separate, which I would not wish upon anybody, it's not easy. I started the separation and started the divorce, but it's not easy. It was still challenging. It's still somebody I was with for 10 years. So it still has a lasting impression. So I say all that to say, who you are today can't do what you want to do tomorrow. In my instance, I was talking about getting through an adversity. But when you think about any level of success, any level of achievement, which is what most of this conversation has been so far, what does the level of success look like to you? What does it look like? And then who do you need to become to achieve that level of success? Most people first look at what do I need to do, which is fine because eventually you need to do something, of course. But you also need to become a different person because who you are today cannot achieve what you want to achieve. Otherwise, you would have achieved it already. It is just a pure, I mean, it's just a fact. Like you would have already done it otherwise. And I say this having worked with thousands of people at the fitness studio. The thing that stopped most people was just their mentality, their mindset of what they thought was possible for them and what the world told them was possible. Because our average demographic was about 45 to 60 years old, which is, from a mindset standpoint, a challenging demographic to work with because many people in that demographic are stuck in their belief. They believe that they can't get better physically. They can't get much better. They can't make much more progress because of the season that they're in their life. And that you cannot overcome that. If you believe that, no matter what the what is that you try, you cannot overcome that until you start to change that belief, until you start to change that mindset around what is possible. So to go back to my adversity, what I had overcome to get to where I am today, where it looks like, hey, you're totally fine. You went through all that. Well, at the beginning of that, I was a different person, and I was a completely different person at the end of it. I was two different people from day one to 6 months later after the business had been shut down, after I had gone through the divorce. I was a completely different person. I thought I was prepared in the beginning, but I wasn't. I had a lot of work that I had to do. And over that time, I made sure to focus on those mindset shifts, that mental change that needed to happen in order for me to be able to overcome that situation. And then the next adversity that also shows up after that, because your success only sticks around to the extent that you can achieve it regularly and effectively. And that's why most people things never stick for people, because you don't build yourself into the person that can do it. So that's the big secret to being able to do things, is you have to become something different. It's not what you do only, it is who you become in the process.
Ooh, well, there's a lot of stuff, Jerry. So one thing that I want to just start with is a great example you said. I mean, about your moments and changing how you had to transform yourself and transfer, one mindset to another to become who you are today. It's lovely to hear that, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, right? Yeah, you got through some tough times. And by the way, anyone watching or listening, tough times is almost, if it hasn't happened, it will happen. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but life is not always going to be peachy. That's just a fact of life. The more you live in this world, the more you're going to get some level of stress in your life somehow. Now, in your case, you had a business loss and a family kind of situation loss. That's two compounded together. That's a pretty hefty, toll to actually carry. And it does take a nice little spin on your mind and your energy and everything. I mean, anyone who's been in a position similar would know. But if you haven't, just know that things can happen, and never think that life is always going to be, simple. It is not the concept. I mean, I don't know of any case in this world that had a simple life, and, throughout their whole life from beginning to the end. Maybe they are, but, God bless if that's the case. But I do know that life is up and down. There is a roller coaster every time. Well, just when you think, there's a point in my life where it was so nice. And I'm like, when is it going to go bad? And it did eventually go bad. Like when you actually all at the really the top, the peak, know that there might be, there is a potential of drop. And it's just a matter of time. Something's going to happen, and you're going to get, in that next level low, and then it can go further down. And sometimes, like, how low can it possibly go? And it will, believe me, keep going. As much as you make changes, and then when you get to a certain point, you're like, well, it can't go any further. So now I think there's no way but up, and it starts going back up. And that's really how it is. Now, how you deal with this process during the transition is really the different, person. I love what you said. If you don't change, you know, who you are at any given point, you're never going to see that new, upgrade of whatever is going to happen next, because we don't know, but we need to make change. And as you said, if you had what it took, you would have already done it correctly the first time. So you change. Now, here's the good news. Some can say, well, that's you just basically lost business, you lost family and stuff. See, I look at it differently. I think you gained. You didn't lose. You didn't lose anything. And let me explain. Life throws in punches, left, right, side, blind side stuff, to you, but it's really something that you learn from. So you basically learn more. You've learned to be more resilient, to be more determined, to shift your mindset, to build more stuff, and to really make it better for you. Regardless, yes, was it easy? Of course not. You didn't expect it to be that way. And yes, you're right. It is not easy. 10 years of a commitment of, with someone else, that's 10 years of life that you shared with somebody. Now, maybe the visions were not, in parallel, coherent, or connected, or, similar, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it did end, and, it wound up not working. You know, uh, uh, here's the thing. You say that you stated something very interesting too. In the fitness world, you had different people and a demographic that didn't think that they can change. That's another thing. Change is part of life, and we can change. We are resilient. We are able to make a move. Doesn't matter. I admire people. I see. I follow a lot of people out there in the social media. I did a lot of success stories, man. At different ages, and you know what? You see people that are like buffed and happy and healthy at advanced age. That's because they're determined to continue. So for those people that are stuck and they think, and by the way, I'm in the middle age myself, I'm in the 50s, and I can tell you it is a turning point where you do feel that you're not the same person that you were before in a lot of areas, but it's how you think about it. I one of my mentors literally told me this. He said there is a point in life where you just have to make a decision how you're going to live for the rest of your life as you age. You can either take the pain and say like, okay, this is it, and give up, or make the best of it and keep focusing on positive and keep doing all the good stuff, and things will continue with you, and you live better, happier, more vitality and stuff. And actually that concept is sticking with me, to date, because I know that it's all, again, mindset. You got to shift. Yes. All right. I'm in the 50s. So what does that mean? Nothing. Yeah. I'm getting a little older. Okay, cool. But I can do better. I can eat healthier. I can do more stuff. I can work out. Now, will I be able to do the same thing I did when I was in the 20s and 30s? Probably not to the same intensity, but there's different, I guess, modifications I can do and continue my pace correctly. I've been in the martial arts world, and I've seen martial artists that are in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, still thriving. So I can see how these people are doing. So through a lot of work. Now, resilience is a big part of all this, right? You need to really maintain, focus. You cannot dwell. That's the other thing. You're not dwelling on the past. You took the past as a learned lesson to move forward. And not only that, you took that and say, okay. And one thing that you stated very clearly to people watching and listening is the time frame. This is not overnight, folks. You have to be willing to give it the right time frame, because it's not going to happen like, okay, shit, things happen. Okay, tomorrow, new day. You're gonna, just switch up and everything is peachy. It doesn't work that way. Now you have to commit. You have to put the time. It's gonna be tough. I love what you said also about how you dealt with the stress. Now you could have gone to the gym and put more and stuff and get more stress over stress, but you figured out a way to decompress. And because again, we know stress, there's a cortisol and all the stuff that gets in there, and it's bad for you, and it just drops you down and gets you all the bad ideology and stuff. But you figure out a way. Again, you adapted, you modified your system so you can adapt to the situation, the current situation that you've been in, and eventually you moved your way from a bad place to a better place. And by the way, this is a format for everyone watching, listening. If it's not for you, maybe if someone we all are potentially capable of going through something like this, and we all have the solution and the ability to actually get through it. Doesn't matter. Listen, I've gone through ups and downs. I am going through some ups and downs at this point. It's always that when you're in business, there's always stuff. That's another fact. You do a lot of stuff. You're making transition, say, from corporate to entrepreneurship. There's a big deal. All right. It's not easy. People think, okay, it is easy to actually get up and go to work and just do 9 to 5 and come back. To a degree, people can like, well, that's not easy. It's hard. Well, you can try having your own business is 12 hours plus, every day,
Different
7 days
kind,
a week.
different
You know
kind
what I
of
mean?
work.
Exactly. So it all depends. But by the way, both are fine, whichever formula you want. But one is you're gonna work a lot harder, for a minute, and then you can just relax. So it's going uphill, uphill, uphill until you get nice and plateau and relax. The other one, and still can go down. And then the other one is you basically plateau straight up and you just keep doing, and that's okay too. Whatever formula works. But at the end of the day is how you feel about it. So I love what you did that, in terms of transition, and you being as open about it as anybody else, can expect it. The idea is that it happened, it's cool. You made, I guess, good with. You agree to it, and that's the thing. Like accepting sometimes your situation is a big deal. A lot of us kind of deny what's going on. Like, why is it happening to me? What the hell? What's going on? Are you gonna change anything by thinking about it that way? No. See that, like, people dwell a lot of stuff, Oh, why? What happened already happened. You couldn't have changed it any further. Could you have changed it? Maybe. But once it happened, it's over. Can't turn the clock. So that means you have to look at it like that's gone. Lesson learned, move up. How do I not fall into the same? And that's it. That's what you did. Now, what I love about your story is that you're taking it from that point, and now you are taking on the road to guide and coach people through your own, experiences and helping differently the folks. So you also started a podcast in between, right?
Well, I actually started that before I shut the business down.
Oh, okay.
My hope was to keep the business, keep the studio going, and then start to build an online arm to the rest of it,
Mm.
and then go from there. So I started the podcast in January of last year, 2023, and then I closed the business on Thanksgiving Day, actually, of 2023 as well. We had a class Thanksgiving morning. It was the last class we did. We had whatever 20, 25 people show up for it. Had a good time. Did a little speech at the end. Everyone cried, so on and so forth. It was nice. It was a very memorable class. But I started at then, and the hope was to be able to do kind of both of them at the same time, which would have been super challenging, of course. But that was the basic idea. Now, since then, obviously, since the business has been set to the side, all of my attention has been put onto growing the podcast as much as possible, growing a brand, extending that out so I can help and reach more people, and then build things off of the podcast. Essentially, be able to build different arms off of the podcast. But no, you make a bunch of very good and very compelling points. You know, there's a saying that everyone has heard, I think, 1,000 times. You either let life happen to you or make life happen for you. Which it's like, okay, yeah, that's a fun saying, sure, but what does it mean? Because most people feel like you can't make life happen for you. Most people feel that way. Um, and when you hear somebody say that, especially someone who, again, I'll keep saying this word success, but it is what it is. Someone who's successful, you think, oh, well, that's easy for you to say. You're already wherever you are, right? It's easy for you to say that you can make life happen because you are where you are. Well, there's a good chance that they made that happen. Not only is there a good chance, they made it happen. Like, unless they were, a hand-me-down billionaire son, whatever, that they just got handed money, they made it happen for them. They literally built whatever it is that they did. They literally created whatever they did. But most people don't focus on the right things. There are four things that we can control: what we do, what we say, what we think, and what we feel. Four things. What we feel controls what we do and what we say. Most people spend their time thinking and feeling about the past and how they've been wronged in the past, or what they can't do, or what's not possible, or what society tells them is wrong, or whatever, usually something negative or something that is not supportive of the future. That's usually the way that it is. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. One of them is that human beings have this thing called a negativity bias. Literally, it is that human beings will cling to negative things. They will cling to it, and they will more easily believe it and resonate with it. It's just something that human beings have. Actually, it's evolutionary. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, without that bias, our ancestors would die when they went out hunting for lions and tigers and bears, because if they didn't pay attention to negative things, there's a good thing those negative things would eat them. Today, we don't have to worry about that. but we still have that bias. We still have that tendency to pay attention, to cling on to, and believe mostly negative things. Now, people say, well, Jerry, I'm just being realistic when I say, oh, well, it's hard to do things or I won't be able to do it. Well, no, actually, you're just believing one side of it. There are two sides to every coin, and there are two sides to every story. You're deciding to believe that you can't achieve something because you're 50 years old. Well, I'm 50 years old, so why would I believe that I can go start a new business and actually grow it into something that makes good quality money and earns me a living? Well, because probably millions of other people have done it. It has been done by plenty of people, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Any goal that you want to achieve has been achieved by almost anybody. There's nobody listening to this that has the goal of going to Uranus or going to like another planet. And if you don't have that goal, it has been achieved, and generally by a lot of people. So you're choosing to think and feel about things in one way of a plethora of different ways to think about them. So while it is by no means easy to change the way you think and therefore then change the way you feel, it is possible. And that's how you actually shift into something different. That's how you actually start to make life happen for you instead of let life happen to you. Because what those people did who actually made that happen is figured out that they needed to start thinking and feeling a different way. Or the other thing they potentially did was they just did so much, they just started doing things, and they would just go do things, and they would prove to themselves that they could do things. They would go do something, and they would put a ton of work into it, and they would prove to themselves that they could do it. So therefore, their thinking and their feeling was built on top of that doing. It was built on top of that just constant taking action, that constant going and constant moving, which is something that holds me back, is I have a tendency to overthink things. And when I start to overthink things, then I actually slow down. I'll hold myself back. But the second I actually get into doing things and I start just going and doing, then I don't have time to think and I'm just doing. And by the end of it, I've created something. And 9 times out of 10, I'm able to do the thing that I wanted to do and complete the thing that I wanted to complete, whether that's a project or something that I was going after. So anyway, I said a lot there, but I just think that there's, because of what we see in society and because of we do care so much about what other people think, and we do take in so much of the world around us, we don't spend time thinking about what is potentially the opposite, what is potentially different than what people tell us what to think or how to feel or what we should do. Because usually that is negative. Usually it is something that's burying you instead of lifting you up. If you recognize that there's a different thought and a different feeling that you can have, then you can start to do that differently so that you can have a different outcome. But it starts with thinking and feeling differently so that you can move in a different direction, start to take different actions in a different direction.
Ooh. Well, Derek, yeah, I listen to you and kind of like I get some goosebumps about the idea that you articulate something very powerfully there, which is that anything is possible and everything is possible and it can be done at any given moment by anybody out there, which means everybody has the gift. Everybody can make a change into whatever it is that they want. As like you said, other than going to another planet, and even if that is the case, you'll have to work for it and make the case to go to another planet.
Look at Elon Musk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's working on SpaceX and doing stuff. You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe one day he'll make it work. I have no doubt that the guy is.
He'll do it.
Exactly. So he's pushing towards whatever that goal is, and he's not going to give up. But that's the thing. We've seen examples. The KFC guy, Colonel Sanders, I forgot the name.
Mm-hmm.
He was 60s or whatever when he started his chain. There's so many examples out there of people who have made a shift. Midlife, later age, early. It doesn't matter what time, where, what circumstance. And by the way, even when you mentioned something about the billionaire, son. Now, even the billionaire son, if they don't do anything to maintain that wealth, he's gonna go. So they are usually are equipped enough to maintain and take over that torch and do something. Now, those that don't, they eventually waste it and gone. But historically, we haven't seen a lot of those. We've seen people that take the torch and keep it up because they learn how to make it work and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, it's a lot easier. Someone can say, well, my circumstances are completely off. The circumstances are, you're not. See, that's the thing. We always attach ourselves to our circumstances. Listen, yeah, we have cards that we have, but here's the good news: you can purchase cards in this world. You're not stuck with one deck of cards. You can move. You can do a lot of things. We're not locked into any particular space. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm stuck in my town." Well, who says you're stuck in your town? I'm stuck in my country. Who says you're stuck in your country? I mean, we have people moving around the world all the time, different opportunities everywhere. You can work remotely today. There's so many things. We have technology that we didn't have years back, that you can do a lot of work. You said it. You move from a live studio to virtual stuff. It's a different world. You can exist now in a virtual space and still be, stuff. Many people are thriving on TikTok and Instagram and social media through their own skills that they were not able to articulate differently without these platforms and things. So now they have another way, a venue to actually exercise this stuff. And they're doing great. You look at them, you listen to them like, what the hell? These guys are good. Where were they? See, that's the thing. We put limitations because we are always looking at the negative. Love what you said. Got to keep a positive spin on things. Listen, I have the same feeling like everybody else. Sometimes you get that little Debbie Downer kind of concept, you beat down on yourself, oh man, what the hell's going on? My life sucks. Here's the good news. You take about a minute about that, you shake it and you're like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to let that beat me down. And you continue and you will continue. You will succeed. That's the thing. We don't know the future, but we do know one thing. If we make enough moves, things will move. That's all there is. If we keep dwelling on like the past, I love what you said, the past, like, oh, this and the other, it didn't work. Okay. So, what didn't work is just another way. You learn something else on how not to do it and how to do it better. And that's all you have to look at. And every one of those bad experiences is a good experience because it taught you something new. And see, it's again, shifting how you think. And really, the more we think about it this way, listen, I look at it this way, like sometimes you got to make some drastic moves in life because those are the necessary changes. People are cozy. That's the other part. You get comfortable, the comfort zone, and that is really where people get hurt the most because and it's hurt. By the way, it's hard, folks. Anyone that's tried to move out of the comfort zone will know that it's going to be like, it's like, swimming against, all the odds and the currents and stuff. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's health, sometimes it's family, sometimes all the stuff, but you can do it. And I love what you said there because everybody, that you can, whatever you can do. And by the way, I have a rule that I think it's very similar to what you said, is that if one person can do it out there, I can do it. Now, here's the thing. Let's say I'm not a doctor. Now, can I learn medicine? Of course I can. Now, will I be able to get a med school? Maybe not. Maybe there's other ways I can learn. Maybe I can learn without having to get into a board certification. But the key here, you can still learn things. Can I be, a carpenter? You can. Can I be a plumber? I can. You have to, every skill can be taught and you can learn it, given the time and the abilities, right? So that's the thing. Like whatever it is, you want to be a media person, you can. You want to start, like, again, when I started this, it was just an idea. I was literally doubting, whether I even get started, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go for this. And, I didn't think about podcasts. I talk about radio. Like literally when I started, it was a radio. And then I discovered podcasts, believe it or not. It's like the other way around, like, oh, there's a lot of there's a whole world out there of podcasting, right? So I looked at it just as talk show radio, right? And then I was just like, well, it's the same thing. I mean, they call it differently, but it's the same thing. So I kind of merged all this stuff. And then I took it to video and then to the network. But so that's the thing. Like when you're in something, you're going to discover more and you're going to find a lot of ways. It's an infinite world of possibilities, folks. And we all have the capabilities. Now, it is hard when you have family, when you have people, when you have other input, other thoughts coming into you from the outside world, because you're going to have inhibitors. And those will be like, the ones that doubt you, the ones that don't think that you can do it, the ones like, what makes you special? You're going to hear some of these things. Guess what? You got to believe in yourselves, folks. Nobody else will. This is it. It happens here. It happens with Jerry. It happens with me. It happens with you. If you're watching and listening, you got to say to yourself, I can do this. I will do this. I know it's going to happen. And believe me, we talk about the power of affirmation, in a lot of areas, you hear this all the time. You got to wake up in the morning and say good things to you. Your mind will make sure that those things do manifest. And, it sounds like some hocus pocus business right now we're talking about, but that's real stuff. You know, talk to psychiatry, they will tell you this stuff is real. The mind believes, the subconscious is operational. The hypnosis that's happening every day on us, what we tell it, it's going to continue working. So the more we think positive, the more we think that nothing's going to keep us, in our, anchored, we can move. Sometimes the only hindrance is ourselves. We're the ones who are actually holding ourselves. Let yourself go, let yourself free, man, fly away. So Jerry, thank you so much for like really giving that, because people get caught with these things as like this life is limited. We're not limited. The only thing that, by the way, that is the only potential limitation for this world, but there's a life after that, right? And for those of us that believe that there's a hereafter, well, so we're gonna transit to somewhere else, but while we're here, let's make it work for ourselves, and we can do it. And don't let age, money and stuff, there's a will, there's a way. you know there's no pain, no gain, right? We hear these old cliche, proverbs or sayings or whatever you want to call them. They're real, they're effective, they work, and we just have to cope with them. We have to make them happen. So thank you so much for literally highlighting some of that stuff. Now you've done it, you've moved, and I love what you said. You wanted to do the podcast with stuff, it didn't work, so yeah, you kept the podcast, the other one. So that's the other thing, like sometimes you got to give up things if they just, yeah, it's gonna be hard. Sometimes you gotta like, okay, I gotta reduce something, change something, tweak something, or put it on hold. You can come back. Who says you can always reopen your business, right? Different location, different demographics can change. So and then here's the good news: when you do something the first time, you can always redo it. Now the
Yeah.
difference is you do it from
Hopefully a little easier.
a little easier and better, because now you learned all the bad stuff, like,
Yeah.
so you tweaked it now to a better format. So again, if you hear in this discussion, folks, there's nothing that we cannot, as humans achieve, if we're willing to make it happen, regardless of all our environments and regardless of where we are. This is the world we live in. And it's even better now than ever, because the tools are available that we didn't have 50 years ago. Love what you said. Our ancestors may have had that whole thing, fight or flight mode. We still have that in us, but it's just in a different way, and we can adapt to every circumstance and conditions and timeframes, and we are doing it. So Jerry, you started to work with people. What are some of the common traits that you find with people that are literally maybe stopping them from really be unleashing their best abilities?
Um, it actually goes perfectly with something that you said. You were talking about how we're possibly, we're going to get in our own way from time to time. I would actually suggest that we are our biggest obstacle always, all the time. And I say that when I say that, it upsets people, because people are like, well, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have the people. It's some resource that they're missing. They're suggesting that they have a resource deficit of some sort, in some way, shape, or form, that they're missing to be able to take the action that they want. When it comes to fitness, I don't have time is the biggest excuse. I don't have time to exercise because I got to take the kids here, and then I got to do this and got to do that, which is true. That's totally true. When it comes to starting a business or growing and expanding a business, I don't have the revenue. I don't have the money. When it comes to other things, I don't have the people. Whatever the resources that we think that we're missing, which is true. That is one part of the equation, which you can go ahead and insert, and it's there. But before that part of the equation is actually you, because you can choose to decide where to find the time and how to find the time. You can choose to decide how to figure out how to get the money. You can choose to decide how to figure out where to find the people. So I would say that the biggest thing that holds people back is their belief that they don't have something external, but really it's just their current lack of ability to figure it out. Because everything is, I think it's Marie Forello wrote this book, everything is figure outable. You can figure just about anything out. So if we go to those examples, time, money, and people, if you tell yourself you don't have the time, my first question to you would be what are you spending your time on now? If you can't answer that question succinctly, and by succinctly, I mean like over the last 7 days, you can tell me on average what you've done from the moment you wake up to the moment you've gone to bed, then you don't know what you're spending your time on. So you cannot tell me that you do not have time until you first know and measure what you're spending your time on now, today. right this very moment. So that's where it first starts. The next thing is, where are you wasting your time? Well, I don't waste any time. Okay, here we go. Here's a few statistics for you. The average person watches TV 2 to 3 hours a day. The average person sits on their phone 3 to 4 hours a day. Right there alone is 5 to 7 hours of time. Well, Jerry, what are you talking about? I don't do that. Have you checked your screen time lately? Have you? I don't know. Well, I only watch TV at night. Well, that's time you could be spent doing working out. If you don't, go down your basement and do a workout, go do something until you recognize and you're willing to look at yourself square in the face and go, okay, yes, I am wasting time. I am looking at my phone much more than I need to. I am spending way more time staring and binge watching Netflix than I need to. I'm spending way more time playing video games than I need to. Until you're willing to stare yourself square in the face and look at those and go, okay, this is what I'm doing, then you'll always tell yourself you don't have time. So that's one example with when it comes to time. And time is I think just it's the most important one because time is the only limited resource that we have. Other people would say money, but money is not a limited resource. It is unlimited, to be totally honest, especially the way the government's creating it. But time is a limited resource, meaning you only have so much of it, literally within a day and literally within a lifetime. And some of us, actually, none of us know how long that lifetime is. So if you don't know where you're spending your time and you're not doing it purposefully, then you cannot tell me that you don't have time. And I could rant on that. I could literally just keep going on that one alone. But let's go to money. Money's another one. And, many business owners will suggest that they don't have money for XYZ. If they want more people or if they want a new system to be able to run things more efficiently, or they want to be able to upgrade their product, or they want to be able to have more things to sell, whatever. How do you get more money? Well, there's a number of ways to do that. The most effective way is to create more sales, literally build more revenue, get more people in the door. Well, I don't know how to do that. Well, okay. Well, then we figured out the problem. You just haven't figured out your marketing strategy. You haven't figured out your sales strategy. You haven't figured out how to close people better, whatever that is. You could go to a bank. You can open a credit card and use a credit card for whatever, which I did when I first started the business. Opened 2 credit cards. They were 0% for 2 years and opened them, maxed them out, paid them off. That's what I did. That's how I opened the business. So you can figure it out. You just haven't figured it out. And then the people thing, you're always willing, like there's people willing to help you. The problem is most people's ego get in their way and they're not willing to go ask for help. They want to figure it out on their own. They want to do things on their own. But no man is an island, and you have to be able to and accept help and give other people help for that matter. But we started this conversation off talking about mentors and coaches. You cannot reach any level of anything in life without the help of somebody else. Can't do it. You literally can't go through life at all, even one little smidgen of a step forward without the help of somebody else. You just can't do it. And whether that's asking somebody for help, trying to grow, I'm trying to grow this business and I need a partner and I can't pay you anything right now, but here's where I can see the business going. So would you be willing to jump in with me? I'm trying to get in shape, but I don't really have the money to do that, to pay a personal trainer right now. Would you be willing to do XYZ? Like just being able to ask for help is something that so many people they let themselves get in the way of it. So you are always, if you just take the view that you were the one standing in your way, not from you're an idiot. Sorry, I started to use some
All good.
language that was
Well,
potentially
you're being real.
unacceptable.
You're being real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's fact.
But it's not that you're dumb. It's not that you're an idiot. It's not that you are an idiot because you can't figure it out. It's not that. You just you're just in your own way. Okay, fine. I'm the thing that's standing in my way. That puts all the power in your hands, not in somebody else's hands. So take the power and then figure it out. What's the step you need to take to figure it out? And that's, if you can start to just make that mindset shift, who knows what kind of things you can actually reach, things you can do in your life.
Jerry, first of all, that's funny because you said you're not, right? You didn't say you are. So that's the thing you have people to remember. But here's the thing, folks. We need to be aware of our own truth, right? And I think that's the thing. Like sometimes we don't like to face the music ourselves, right? Or like ask the tough question. You know, it's okay to say, am I being dumb? Am I being an idiot? Am I being smart? Am I, ask the question, like, and by the way, there's nothing, the more you ask the questions, the more you'll find the answers, the more you'll be better, as opposed to like avoiding the tough questions because your ego gets on the way. Ego has nothing to do with it. That's the bottom line. Time, money, resources. Three things. Time is the only commodity we cannot get extra from. And we do have a lot of time on our hands. We just don't know how to use it and utilize it properly. Time management is a whole, study out there. I mean, there's courses and training just for time management, whether you're business, life, and so on and so forth. That's what coaching can help, in personal development, coaching specifically. You talked about the money resources. You just gave the example. You got a couple of credit cards. You can, I mean, listen, I've been doing this. I've been working on the side, building, side stuff while I'm trying to figure out the monetization of all this stuff. And you know what? Yeah, is it easy? No, it's my money going in, and I'm trying to build a formula that's going to work where it can sustain itself. Now, there's only one way for this to stop if I give up. That's it. And that's exactly what happens to everyone. So money is only, and you can look at investors. I'm looking for, like, literally right now, for angel investors to see if they buy into the vision. There are people out there that are willing, that may see eye to eye, as you said. Maybe they see what you're seeing. They're willing to be part of that venture. You don't know who's out there that's listening or watching or whatever. And if you don't ask, you don't get. I mean, we're in sales. I mean, that's my world. You always ask for it to say. You always ask, what's the worst that can happen? You're still in the same position. If you don't ask, you got no answer. If you ask, you have at least 150% chance to get a yes. So why not? The odds are in your favor at any given moment. So you have to look at all these things in a very tangible way, clear, and don't give up. That's the thing. Don't, as you said, don't be the encumbrance, don't be the obstacle of your own self, the anchor of your own. These are all resources, people out there, literally humans out there, people, you might don't think now, are there infinite people who will like you, who will support you? Maybe a few, but believe me, all it takes is one or two. Listen, I'm an only child. And I love what you said, that no one makes it in this world on their own. So I'm only a child, which means that I grew up by myself. For the most part, I can sustain myself. Like literally, I can live by myself. But in life, you still need people. You're not meant to be alone. You cannot literally be by yourself. So the reason I threw, I did well, in my career is not because of me. It's because of the people that came my way, the people that introduced me to my industry, the people that supported my work, the people that actually mentored me and coached me, to become good, that taught me more stuff. Everyone, if it wasn't for the first number one person, I wouldn't be today. I mean, literally, like if you start, I never watching, I've done this exercise before, watch now yourself and take a couple of minutes, review your past, review your time frame to date. In about 2 minutes, you're going to visualize every single moment and every person that you came across that kind of contributed to where you are today. Whether your business, your work, someone guided you to that first job. Someone got you to the second job. Someone got you to that next promotion. Someone got you to that next opportunity, and so on and so forth. And these people are the ones that you have to thank. And even the ones that hurt you in the process. For example, there are people that actually were not the greatest, things in my life. They actually were reasons for me to move one job to the other, whatever. But guess what? I thank them too, because at the end of the day, had I not moved from those circumstances, things would never have changed for me. So sometimes those things are literally blessings in disguise. They're good. They're not bad. Again, it's how you say it. It's the mindset. You see things in a negative way, they're always going to be negative because you're going to be clinging to everything that is bad, or you can see all the positive in that stuff and what you can get out of it. And that's it. It's like you are almost polishing something that is raw into something that is solid, clear, beautiful, and you turn it into your way. You mold it yourself. So thank you for breaking that down. Now you kind of, when you put all this together, I think what comes to my mind is discipline. So let's talk about that, Jay, because I think that's really our main problem, right? Because we have a lot of this stuff, but how do we make it all work? What do you say to discipline in terms of this equation?
It's the thing, right? And I think a lot of people look at discipline as a negative trait. Not negative, maybe is not the right way to put it, but something that limits your abilities or limits what you can do. In the fitness world, for instance, I'll give you an example. Most people look at dieting and nutrition as restrictive. I need to restrict what I eat. I need to restrict what I drink. I can never do this again. I can never have any more alcohol. I can never have any more cake. I can never have ice cream. I can never have chips again. I can never have XYZ. And that mindset keeps people from actually making progress because they think restrictively instead of recognizing that discipline is not about restriction. It is about giving you the capability to and the power to know when to do and when not to do. So discipline is something that takes time to build, first of all, but it's something that you also shouldn't look at as something that limits what you can do and enjoy in life, because people think discipline and they think no joy. And there are certainly plenty of people who are, and I've been at this point at different levels in my life, to be totally honest, but who are so disciplined and so strict that, yeah, you look at them and you're like, oh, I don't want to be like that, because they don't even look happy. They don't need anything that they enjoy. They never go out and have fun because they're too worried about getting sleep and working out and doing all XYZ and doing all these things. It's like, yeah, well, of course there's that extreme. And again, I've been there, and sure, it's not really all that enjoyable, but I did it for other reasons, mostly to challenge myself. But you have to decide what that level of discipline means to you right now in this moment. And if you want to achieve things in life, you have to ask yourself if you're willing to pay the full price of achieving them. If you're willing to pay the full price, and this is where people get so messed up, because they set a goal and then they just start to go after it, and they never ask themselves if they're willing to pay the price for it. Because the price of anything that you're trying to do is discipline, but it's discipline in different ways. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, it is discipline. The full price is eating good quality, healthy food 95 to 99% of the time. It is following up and showing up to all of your training sessions, not missing because you didn't feel like, you felt bad after work, or because you had you didn't get to sleep as early as you wanted to, or because your friends want to go out and binge drink with you tonight. You don't skip because of that. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, you want to get a six pack, you want to lose 50 pounds, whatever, then the full price is the price. That's what it is. So I think discipline really begins by asking yourself that question. Am I willing to go down this route? Am I willing to do what is necessary? Because otherwise you'll fool yourself into thinking that either I just can't do it, which is not true, because the only thing that happened is you didn't actually put the effort into it. You didn't actually do what was necessary. You put some, temporary or partial effort into it instead. You went and you ate good Monday through Thursday, but then once Friday came around, you fell off the wagon and you just ate whatever you wanted to and went out and partied with your friends over the weekend. You skipped 3 workouts that week. You did whatever. That's not dedication. That is not the discipline that is necessary to do it. So it starts by asking that question: what am I willing to pay the full price? Once you've answered that question and recognize what the full price is, by all means, please don't fool yourself. Don't oh, I can shortcut this and I can shortcut that. You can't. You won't. You can't do it. You should ask for mentors. Help. All of that is helpful, and that will help speed things up, but it will not shortcut things for you. So answer that question. And then once you get started, discipline is literally just built by deciding to start to do it. It's literally just by taking one action, one moment at a time. Because if you think of it in too long of a time frame, then it feels too big and it feels too cumbersome. And then it does feel restrictive. Well, I got to do this forever. Well, no, you just have to make the choice today to do it. Today, you have to say no to that cake. Just today. Today, you have to skip the candy bar. Today, you have to not spend money on that, fancy bag or clothes or whatever, so that you can put that into the business or put that into investments. You just have to do that today. That's all you got to do. And as you compound that and add that on top of each other, it becomes easier. Is it ever easy? No, it's never easy, but it does become easier. So discipline is literally a matter of just choosing in the moment to do what is necessary to pay the full price for the outcome that you want. You can't think too long term. You can't think about the whole thing, because that's where your mind will start to play tricks on you and say, well, if I can never do this again, I can never enjoy myself again. That's where you start to really fall off the wagon. But if you make a choice in the moment, just today, I got to pass up beer. Just today, that's what I got to do. Then it becomes a lot easier. I just got to make the choice now instead of make the choice forever. You don't have to make a choice forever. Just got to make a choice today.
I'm listening to you, and discipline is really synonymous to consistency. And as you said, one step at a time, one day at a time. You got to start first, and then you just repeat, repeat, repeat consistently, nonstop. And that's as simple as a way to look at it. And a lot of people have this thing with motivation versus discipline, and sometimes they get motivated temporarily, right? Like because most motivation is like gets you excited, yeah, and then it dies out, right?
Mm,
But really the whole thing is, as you said, you commit. It's not going to be. And by the way, I love what you said. You can't look at the whole picture because it's going to burden you just by thinking about the magnitude of what it's going to take. But if you take it one little thing, I mean, I was like, looking at termites or any of those little things that eat up. They don't look at the whole house. They'll just
mm,
chew one piece at a time, right? Whatever, those things. One thing at a time. You just get one, slice, and then the next and the next, and then you get there and you start seeing the positive results, and then you're like, ooh, I love this. And then now he's just like, I don't want to go back. I want to continue. But to do that again, that discipline has to be with you. So I think discipline is a core, of everything that we do, whether in personal life, this and that, and the business. Now, people, as you said, sometimes need the guidance. Now you are doing this for a living. Now you're helping people. So how can people work with you, and what is your process?
yeah. So I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been working with people. I've been working with people at this level since the gym's been closed down. Personal development expanded my repertoire, I guess, if you will. So helping people change is something that I've been doing for a long time. Of course, I've done it for myself over the course of that time as well. So not only do I help people themselves, but I practice what I preach, which I believe is important to point out. And I don't say that in a bragging way. I say that I apply the things that I say. Apply the things that I suggest. I apply the things because I have to be able to know that they work before I suggest them. If I tell you something to do and I'm not even sure if it's going to work, then I'm not doing you any justice at all. I'm potentially moving you in a different direction. So that's why I believe application of the self first is so important. But so everything that I do, you can find on goodwolfproject.us. That's the podcast. That's the podcast domain, but that's also where all of my information is as well. And the process is simple. So I started everybody on just a basic strategy session. Let's figure out where you are so that we can figure out what steps we need to take to move you forward. And that is just a matter of eliminating blind spots. What are the blind spots that you have in your life? What are the things that are keeping you still based on the goals that you want, based on your health outcomes that you want? What are the things that are getting in your way? And then what are the things that we can start to implement as well? One of the things I focus on a lot, we talked about time management. That's actually one thing that I think I'm very effective at. Actually, I know I'm very effective at is time management and productivity because so many people are bad at it. That's one of the things that I focus on the most is where are you spending your time? When it comes to entrepreneurs, especially, that's most who I work with. Entrepreneurs don't have a focus problem. They have an opportunity problem. As you well know, it's easy to get distracted by the squirrel that runs across your face, the new venture, the new idea, someone coming to you and asking you to help them with their new venture or whatever. It's easy to get distracted by those things. So just being able to say no to things is also another important capability. But time management is something that we focus on big time. Where are you wasting time? What can you delegate? What can you get out of your life and delete so that you can open up your time and be more productive? And then how do you start to focus on the goals that you want? And then we'll lay out a 90-day plan to do that, starting with 90 days, breaking it down to 30 days, and then eventually breaking it down to literally daily actions that you take to make progress in your life.
I love it. But again, see, that's the thing. Like some of us may not have the some of us are like large picture people, right? And what you do is you kind of concise that to like, miniature steps, things that are like easily to, it's like we see the big picture in the puzzle, but we can't figure out the pieces. You actually helping us put the pieces together here. So that's beautiful. And sometimes we do need that guidance. And again, we don't see it. And that's the thing. We get caught up with our own selves. For the most part, we don't see the whole thing. Sometimes we need someone to kind of, push us left or right and give us a little bit of feedback, positive feedback, constructive criticism, as because there's also some negative out there that's usually just for free. People are easy to judge people because they just can. And that's the other thing. We are sometimes worried about what people are thinking. People are not living your life. People are not in your shoes. People are not going to pay your bills. People are not going to do things for you. For the most part, they don't care. And a lot of people just see the success, peak of that iceberg and not what goes behind it, right? We all have seen that picture of, what is success, right? There's a whole a lot of failure, a lot of disappointment and giving up, and then people see only that final piece, right? Like we look at Jeff Bezos right now and like, oh, great, he's the richest guy in the world. But years back when he was building, and I'm sure you've seen his picture in his little office when he was just put it together. That's where a lot of people have started, folks. I mean, if you look at, whatever it's, Microsoft and all the big, places, Disney garages and basements where it's all started, right? And then the next thing you know, they're leading the world. So these things are happening, but we do need sometimes the efforts and the help of other people because you're seeing, what I'm not seeing. You're probably seeing what I'm seeing, but you're seeing it from a different angle. You're a fresh, pair of eyes that are looking at my world. And so you can actually like pinpoint things. And it's a teamwork. I mean, you're going to tell me, I'm going to tell you, and then you're going to pinpoint things. And that's how it works. So we do need that extra help sometimes in our lives. And don't give up on that. I mean, that's actually a good thing to have. Again, we all need help. We do need to seek help. We need to get the guidance, and yes, even if you're at the top, I mean, I just did an interview, someone who helps CEOs, get their life in order, similar to your stuff, right? That's the thing, because we all get caught up in a lot of stuff, and there's different leadership styles, right? Some of us are like, the red and the yellow, as opposed to green and blue in some of these, scheme of things, right? And so some of us are just like, big picture, no details, or, so we need that guidance, like, when we miss it to help us. And, and sometimes that could be from anyone, but again, you get someone who's professional, who does the work. They'll guide you. And I love that you have it planned 90 days, 30 days daily, and you work with the people and you see transformation. So now, you work with everybody, I'm assuming, Jerry, right? It doesn't matter where
Oh
they
yeah,
are in
for
the
sure.
world.
Yeah,
Okay. And
for
your
sure.
site is Jerry's, what's the actual website?
So the site is goodwolfproject.us.
Goodwill Project.
Good Project
Wealth. Okay. Okay.
Wolf, like
All
the
right.
animal.
Oh, wolf. Okay. All right. All right.
Goodwolfproject.us.
I love that. Like the thing behind you there, is that a wolf?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
All
so
right.
the name's got a story to it, but yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love those things. I mean, people ask me like, where did you get hurricane? There's always a story behind things, but I love
Yep.
that, right? There is a real thing. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, we have the podcast. You do reach out to Jerry on, I guess, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and the website, and you can certainly sign up with him and work with him, and get your action in gears. And yeah, do listen to his stuff. Listen, we've exceeded our hour and we covered a lot of grounds, and I hope that we've sent some strong messages today, and good nuggets to our audiences. Anything that you want to leave our audiences with today?
Anytime you can challenge what society tells you is reality, I would say challenge it. This is something we kind of hit on a little bit, but I think it's just worth reinforcing, because society tells us one story, and generally speaking, like I said before, and like you reinforced, it is a not empowering story. On average, if most people believe or say something, then most likely the opposite is true. So if you can start to question the things that you hear external to you, and then question the voices in your head that reinforce that idea, there's a chance, a higher likelihood that you'll be able to make progress and achieve your goals, achieve those dreams that you want in life. But you got to start questioning those beliefs, internal and external, that you hear daily, minute, hourly, the things that go through your head. So you got to just question the things that you think and hear.
So, as all science in the world goes with questioning things, right? You have to have a scientific, approach to life, and really that, which means you have to question everything and break it down, and just don't take it for granted. And I love that. I mean, so thank you for really that. That's a powerful message as well. And it's ideal to close our show today. So Jerry, thank you so much, man, for being with us and sharing your wealth of wisdom here, and definitely your ability and your opportunity for people to guide themselves and help themselves for a better way. um that's it, folks. We're coming to the end of the show. American Age. Hope you enjoyed our show today. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show topic. What's the story about the wolf?
So it's an old Indian legend. And the legend goes, there's an Indian chief and his grandson sitting around a campfire, and they're talking, having a conversation, and the chief's telling his son that we all have two wolves inside of us. One of them is a bad wolf, an angry one, full of venge and hate and anger and greed, and a good one full of love and joy and compassion. And they sit there and talk a little longer, and then the grandson sits and he's thinking, and he looks at the Cherokee chief and he says, well, Grandpa, if we all have two wolves inside of us and they're constantly fighting, which one wins? And the chief says, the one that you feed. So the idea is you're a project, you're an ongoing project, and you're constantly feeding your good wolf.